Dear you, I'm writing to you from a version of yourself who remembers the exact heaviness that settled in your chest the moment you realized you might have to start over. It wasn't a loud moment. It didn't come with dramatic endings or sudden heartbreak. It came quietly, through a slow unraveling of things you once believed would last, through subtle signs that the path you were on no longer felt right, through the soft dread of admitting that something in your life wasn't working anymore. You didn't want to face it. You didn't want to acknowledge the tired way your heart reacted to routines that once felt comforting. You didn't want to accept that the dreams you used to chase didn't excite you the same way. You didn't want to see the truth reflected in your own silence, that you were no longer in alignment with the life you had built. I remember how you tried to hold everything together. You held on to old plans, old identities, old versions of yourself, because letting go felt like losing control. You feared the uncertainty that comes with change. You feared the emptiness that comes after release. You feared that starting over would mean admitting failure, as if your worth depended on getting everything right. There were nights when you lay awake feeling that quiet fear settled deeper, like a weight pressing on your ribs. You wondered if you had waited too long, if you had outgrown your opportunities, if you were too late, too tired, too behind to begin again. You told yourself things like, maybe I should just settle, or maybe this is the best I'll get. Not because you believed it, but because you were afraid of what starting over demanded of your heart. But beneath that fear, you felt something else too, a soft longing. A whisper, a tug, a quiet sense that your life was calling you towards something truer, something lighter, something more aligned. And even though the fear was louder, that longing never left. It stayed with you in moments of stillness, reminding you that the desire to begin again wasn't a flaw. It was a signal, a sign that your spirit was awakening, preparing for a life that fit who you were becoming. I saw you fighting that internal battle between fear and hope, between staying and changing, between clinging and letting go. And nothing about your struggle made you weak. It made you human, standing at the edge of a new chapter you weren't yet ready to name. Starting over is one of the most misunderstood experiences, because people act like it's simple, like you just make a choice, take a breath, and begin again. But your past self knows the truth. Starting over isn't just about change. It's about loss. It's about grieving versions of yourself you once held close. It's about stepping into unknown territory without a guarantee. And that takes a level of courage you didn't yet realize you had. You didn't fear starting over because you lacked strength. You feared it because you had invested so much of your heart into what already existed. You feared wasting time. You feared disappointing others. You feared having to rebuild from pieces that already felt fragile. But what you didn't understand then is that starting over is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of growth, quiet, internal growth that finally becomes too large to stay inside the life you've outgrown. You were not breaking. You were breaking open. Your past self wants you to understand something profoundly important. You were never behind for taking your time. You were never hopeless for feeling lost. And you were never weak for hesitating before stepping into the unknown. The fear you felt was simply love in disguise. Love for your life, love for your identity, love for the things you worked hard to build. Of course you were afraid to lose them. Of course you were afraid to rewrite your story. You cared, even when caring hurt. But here's what your past self finally understands. The moment you felt stuck was the moment your spirit began asking for something more. The moment you felt restless was the moment a new version of you began forming. The moment you felt like you couldn't stay was the moment you were being guided toward where you were meant to go. You feared starting over because you thought it meant going back to zero. But in reality, you were carrying every skill, every lesson, every heartbreak, every step of growth with you. You weren't beginning from scratch. You were beginning from experience. And the person you were becoming, the one you couldn't yet see, was worth every uncertain step ahead. Now I'm speaking to the you standing here today, the you who survived confusion, fear, hesitation, and emotional weight. The you who still wonders whether you're capable of starting over, whether you're strong enough, whether you're ready for what comes next. Take a breath, a slow, honest breath. Let it fill your chest with the truth that your past self finally learned. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far behind. You are exactly on time for the life that's waiting for you. Starting over does not require confidence. It requires willingness. It requires softness. It requires the courage to say, I deserve a life that feels true. You don't need a master plan. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need everything figured out. You only need to take the next small step, the one your heart has been quietly nudging you toward. There is a life ahead of you filled with things you haven't experienced yet. Connections that match your depth, opportunities that align with your growth, moments of peace that feel earned, moments of joy that feel gentle, moments of clarity that remind you why you kept going. You are allowed to release the life that no longer fits. You are allowed to begin again, even if your voice shakes. You are allowed to rebuild slowly, softly, intentionally. You are allowed to choose yourself this time. And you are not alone. Your past self is cheering for you, guiding you, holding you steady with every bit of wisdom you earned through every painful ending and quiet awakening. Starting over is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of the part where you finally grow into the person your heart has been waiting for. Take another breath. Let it strengthen your spine and soften your chest. Let it remind you that beginnings do not ask for perfection, only presence. You are ready. You are capable. You are becoming sincerely you.